Let's hope this works. Hey bookworms and bookmarks, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going through the ever important Booker wish list. I've already done my predictions video, you can go and check that out after this one. But today is just my wish list, the books that I want to see on this list, just to give me an extra excuse to get round to them even earlier. It is pouring with rain here in Bali, which is why we're in a cafe today and not on my usual rooftop. So I'm hoping with the power of this small but mighty microphone, you will be able to hear me perfectly, whilst I get deafened by the current rainstorm here in Bali that has been going on for 3 days straight, morning, noon and night, and is going to continue this way for 10 days. Bearing in mind this is peak season, so people are coming on holiday and this is their holiday for the next 10 days. I feel so bad for them. This is rainy season weather, not dry season weather, which it's supposed to be in July. So now that I have gotten my Englishness out of the way and I have discussed the weather and complained about it, let's get into the Booker Prize wish list. The first one that I want to talk about today is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. This is a piece of historical fiction. This is a very popular author. He had a book called The Good Lord Bird, which was one of Barack Obama's book choices. So this one is about a skeleton that's found at the bottom of a well and leads to long-kept secrets being unearthed in a poor neighbourhood made up of Jews and African Americans. This is about people who survive on the margins of white Christian America and what they do to survive. So that sounds fantastic. I'm really excited to get to this author because this will actually be a new author for me. As I have not read The Good Lord Bird, I'm really excited to get into this piece of historical fiction. The next one is up by Edan Lepuki, and this is Time's Mouth. This is a sci-fi fantasy time-travelling family saga, which sounds fantastic to me, because whilst I dabble in sci-fi fantasy, I am not fully in, and so when I find a sci-fi fantasy genre book that really speaks to me and appeals to me in its blurb, and I just cannot wait until its release date, which I believe is the first week in August, then I know that this is one to put onto my TBR and my Booker Prize wish list. So the description of this says, Time's Mouth is a story about mothers, memories, and what we inherit and what we choose to keep. Set in the hyper new age world of California, featuring time travel, life force energy, and psychoanalysis. The writing has a creepy quality to it that helps to invoke the hazy whimsy of California. I love creepy writing. The cultish aspects of the story, coupled with a time-travelling plot, make this a beguiling read that's hard to put down. I need a book that's hard to put down because I'm kind of pulling myself out of a reading slump right now. There's a sinister tension that is present throughout the entire story that makes this an unusual and atmospheric read. A very unique story that asks the question, if you could travel back in time, would you? So I'm really hoping that makes the book a long list this year. It's an author that I have not gotten to yet. If they are heading more towards obscure authors this year that maybe would kind of propel them onto the international stage and a wider readership rather than getting behind some of the bigger named authors, then this I feel would be a great one to go for. The next one I want to talk about is called Open Throat. This one I have seen a lot on Bookstagram already because it's told from the perspective of a gay mountain lion, which sounds adorable and I cannot wait to get to it. This is quite short actually, it's more of a novella than a novel, so let's hope it makes the page count required for the Booker, because this is about a universal journey through a wondrous and menacing world recounted by a lovable mountain lion in California. And it says here that this is going to be an instant cult classic, so I feel like maybe the Booker will want to get behind something that's quite quirky and is going to be potentially saying quite a lot in what is a very small page count. The next one I'm hoping is going to be nominated is Falling Animals. This is literary fiction and is told through a chorus of voices. Having loved the choral nature of women talking recently this year, I am kind of in the mood for some interlinked short stories maybe, and different voices and multi-perspectives, and this is what this book is going to deliver. This follows the cross-hatching threads of lives, both true and imagined, real and surreal, past and present. I love the past and present idea. I love the real and surreal, maybe some unreliable narrators in there, maybe some supernatural happenings. I would really, really like that right now. And I think coupled with Time's Mouth, that sci-fi fantasy vibe, maybe that's just the kind of vibe that I want to be pushing for in my reading at the moment. Something that is otherworldly and escapist in that sense. Now, for the first time ever, it is going to be possible for a international Booker crossover with Benjamin Labatut. His new release, The Maniac, is actually being published in English, whilst his previous novel, When We Cease to Understand the World, was translated from Spanish into English and was then nominated for the International Booker. This one, written in English, is going to qualify for this year's Booker. And whilst me, along with other people, think that he was robbed for the win for the International Booker that he was nominated for several years ago, let's hope he's going to win the Booker now with this one. This is in a similar vein to his previous work, where he's following the life of a polymath, but different from his previous work where he followed multiple different mathematicians and scientists. This is going to be about the life of just one Hungarian polymath called John von Neumann. I love Labatut's writing. I can't wait to read this book. I'm so envious of people that I see on the Goodreads homepage who are already reading this book because they've got advanced reader copies. I am waiting with bated breath to see if my advanced reader copy is going to be approved. So if anybody is in charge of sending NetGalley eArcs who is watching this video, please send me over a copy of The Maniac. I can't wait to read it. The next one on this list has received some glowing praise already, and this is A Covenant of Water. This is the long-awaited new novel by the author of Cutting for Stone, and this is a historical intergenerational family saga, and it is a mammoth sitting at over 800 pages long. The blurb here calls it a stunning new epic of love, faith and medicine set in Kerala between 1900 and 1977, following 3 generations of family seeking the answers to a strange family curse. I have started reading this book, and the family curse, the kind of like affliction, is that the male relatives in this family die of drowning at some point in their life, and we find that out very early on, that this is the curse that they all struggle with. And no matter kind of what happens, whether they learn to swim, whether they don't learn to swim, you know, they seemingly end up dying by drowning. So I am less than 10% into the book, so I'm hoping that this one's really going to be excellent, because as you all know, intergenerational family sagas is kind of my catnip. I absolutely love them. So the next one is coming from the literary satire genre, and this is The Centre. Now this is coming out on the 6th of July, and I'm so excited to read this one because the blurb sounds absolutely fantastic. It sounds sort of dystopian, darkly comic type of vibes. So this one says, a boundary-pushing debut following an adrift Pakistani translator in London who attends a mysterious language school which boasts complete fluency in just 10 days, but at a secret, sinister cost. The overall question being, what price are you willing to pay for success? So I think that sounds fantastic. I like the idea of this dark, seedy, translator school where you go and learn a language in 10 days. It's sort of like, right, what happened in those 10 days in order for you to be fluent? I love that idea. I think it sounds creepy and dark. The next book is The Story of the Forest by Linda Grant, and honestly the hype that I have seen around this book has mainly been coming from Bob the Bookerer, so I will link his channel in the description box below. I watch his videos all the time, and I feel like in almost every other video he's like Linda Grant, Linda Grant, Linda Grant, in a great way, in a way that it makes me add it to my TBR and now add it to my Booker wishlist, because I would love to read this novel. From what Bob has said, this spans a very long period of time. It is largely a political novel, and in fact has been shortlisted for the Orwell Prize for Political Fiction. There is often some crossover between the Booker Prize and the Political Fiction Prize, and so I feel like this would also be a kind of a sensible choice to assume that it will also make the Booker this year. So the penultimate book I want to talk to you about today is called Juno Loves Legs, and I already have a soft spot for this one because it said that it's for fans of Sally Rooney and Shuggie Bain, and Shuggie Bain just automatically says to me this is going to be incredibly difficult to read, but also is going to grab your heart and hold on for the entire duration of the novel. So this is a coming-of-age gay fiction novel. It's a story of young friendship between 2 teens labelled as delinquents, set in working-class Dublin in the 1980s. So very reminiscent of Shuggie Bain in that premise, except that we're going to Ireland rather than Scotland. But then we have the influence of Sally Rooney, so potentially the writing then that would indicate that kind of level of quality in the writing maybe. But overall I'm looking for an emotional, impactful novel that's going to hit me right in the feels. Lastly then we're heading over to Megan Nolan, who has written Ordinary Human Failings. I have mentioned this author in a recent video because this is actually on my July TBR, and I can't quite put into words what it is about this novel that I think has a shot at the Booker Prize this year. It's not like I've read her work before, it's not like the plot sounds particularly Bookerish, but I just feel like we may see this one on the list this year. This is dealing with a 1990s news reporter who stumbles across a case around a dead child in a London council estate, and so I feel like potentially there's going to be quite a lot of political, social commentary going on in this, and that tends to go over quite well, especially the setting in London. I think it's going to be very provoking and thoughtful. Megan Nolan's previous novel, Acts of Desperation, was ravely reviewed writing-wise. Yes, the content didn't go down well with certain people, but the writing itself I think nobody could find fault with, and so I really hope that she has a good chance at this year's Booker Prize, at least to get onto the long list. And I feel like that would be just such a wonderful, wonderful thing from a person who is a young, talented writer. Believe it or not, the rain has actually stopped in the filming of this video, so thanks guys, you're like the lucky charm today. It's only drizzling as opposed to bucketing it down. I hope you are all firmly on the Booker hype train, as I am. Of course I will leave the predictions videos that have come out so far, which are mine, Scott's, and I believe Bob the Bookerer's as of the filming of this video, in the description box below, because as I have spoken about with many people over on Bookstagram, often the anticipation and the hype of the Booker Prize before the long list is revealed is actually better than when the list is revealed itself. Kind of like Christmas, the run up to Christmas and that excitement is often better than Christmas Day itself. So when the long list arrives, I will be sampling all of it, and I will put up my reading and ranking the long list video that I did for both the Women's Prize and the International Booker Prize. So I will leave actually those two videos in case you didn't see those down in the description box below as well, where I sampled the first chapter of each of the books on the long list, gave you my thoughts, ranked them, and I did that just a few days after the long lists were announced so that you guys could get kind of like a flavour of what they're about, what the writing's like, what I think, that sort of thing. So I'll be doing that again. But until the next video guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you very soon on my next video guys. Bye!